We were talking about one of the topics that we were talking about just now, what we finished, is about that in all the vegetation in the world, only the four types of vegetation, in other words, the lulav, the esrog, the hadassim, the aravis, these are all indicating of unity, that each one of them has a unity of their own type and form. Now, the unity in an esrog we spoke about is a much more powerful unity, because the unity of all the other kinds is where you have things that the division is recognizable in them, both in the lulav and the esrog, the lulav, the hadassim, the aravis. The unity is of disparate parts that's recognizable, they're parts, and that you're joining them. But when it comes to the esrog, the unity is such that you have all the atmospheres and all the seasons, they all contribute to the growth of the esrog, and that makes one esrog. And that is why that's the first thing in the pasuk, and that's the reason why it uses the term hadar by esrog. That's the spiritual idea of hadar, that's the beauty of the esrog, that affects and influences and brings hadar, the achdus, to all the other minim as well, and from that derives also the halacha that we learn out, the halachas of hadar from the esrog and everything else. By the way, with this we can understand very well what the Rebbe said about when they asked him about when he gave out his lulav and esrog to be used by thousands of people every day in Sukkot, and people said, so many people touching it, it takes away, especially from the esrog, but I'm sure all the dal minim, the beauty of it. So the Rebbe says, what's a greater beauty than when you have so many Yidden doing a mitzvah on the lulav and esrog? Because that is the true idea of hadar. The true idea of hadar, the way he explains over here in the Maimer, is the idea of achdus, and that's why by esrog, where it's the ultimate achdus, that's where it says hadar openly, and from that we learn out hadar for everything else. Okay, let's continue. Again, we're on page Yud Gimel. I think it's the 9th page of the PDF. Second paragraph, line 14. So once we spoke about this idea of the unity that there's to be found through and in the Daled Minim, so now he explains this in concern to the spiritual realms of unity. The general idea behind this is the ultimate purpose in this is also in the world of separation, yifalu inyan ha'achdus. We should also affect and influence the idea of unity and oneness. Meaning, we spoke about before that the esrog, the hadassim, the aravis, these are all things that are located in our physical world. And our physical world is one of the worlds of separation that began with the world of Bria. It's the final world of Bria Tzirasiya, where the separation is in its strongest fashion. So in that world of separation, that is where we are. We have these things that are in their actual growth and physicality manifest unity. So that's the same idea like Shema Yisrael. Like we say in Kriya Shema, we have to draw down the owner of the world, the boss of the world, the one that was in charge of the world, indicating by the letter Aleph, stands for the word Aluf, B'shiva Rekiyim Ba'aretz, in the seven heavens and the earth, hinted in the letter Ches of the word Echad. Ches is the 8 of the 7 heavens and the earth. Ba'arba Daled Ruchas Olam, the letter Daled indicates the 4 sides of the compass, the 4 sides of the world, meaning that you are taking the Aleph, you're taking the unity and bringing it into a place of disparity and separation, and you're bringing unity over there. And not only that, in such a way, the beginning of the word is with the letter Aleph, Aleph Nasa, Alufish Aloilo. The Aleph becomes the master of the world. Shenirmaz Beches V'Daled, that's hinted in the Ches and the letter Daled. So the Aleph overcomes by the very fact that Rebbe always emphasized this from Shar Yichud V'Amunah, that when you have a Rosh Tevis, what's the significance of the first letter of a word? Because the first letter of the word is always the one that has the most spiritual energy than the rest of the word. So the fact that the word begins with the letter Aleph, that means that who is in charge over here? Not the Ches and the Dalet, but the Aleph, which is the oneness of Alufi Shaloilam, is what overrules and makes from the disparity into a state of unity. And not only that, but the entire word, just like the Esrig, is made up of, it's a one entity that's made up of many atmospheres and uniting all these different things. Here we have the general word, not only it's part of one word, but it's part of the word that means unity. Echad. Now in general, this idea of Hashem's Achdus in the world, even in Alma de Pruda, even in a world of separation like our world, we have the Alufi Sheloilam, we have the Master of the Universe being down here, and that is accomplished through our avodah. It's not something that is naturally present in a revealed way. But despite that, there are certain glimpses of this within creation, and that's the Daled Minim. So he says in line 24, in the world itself, there are those things that's already recognizable in them. Already from creation, before we even do anything to them, it's recognizable the idea of unity and oneness more than other matters of the world. That's the common denominator of all the four species. Though they are connected to the general vegetation of this physical world. And this physical world, we said, it's in the word of separation and ego. And therefore, it belongs to a family and to a system which is separation and division. It's recognizable in the yesh, its sublimation to its root and its source. How is it? Ad kedei kach to such a degree. That the idea of unity is recognizable in the physical being of these four species of the Esrog, Lulav, Adas, and Aravs. Top of page Yudalad Oisei. The general idea of unity that's in the four species. Mudgish Gam B'Yom Harishon is also emphasized with the concept that we say by Yom Harishon. It says, "Velakachtem lachem by Yom Harishon." You should take it in the first day. And we spoke about the significance of Rishon. Rishon goes on Mashiach, goes on Hashem, goes on the idea of Toyu coming before Tikkun, and so on, and the Beis Hamikdash, meaning that this Achdus has to do and is emphasized with the idea of Rishon. It's connected with the level of godliness that's higher than Seder Ishtalshalos, like we mentioned before in Siv Beis. By the very term, by the very concept that you're talking about, the chain order of descent, that itself, the very fact they're calling it a chain order of descent, that itself indicates, or a chain order, that itself indicates, a chain indicates there's links, there's a division. The very nature of the Seder Ishtalshalos, which is Madrega, Achas Mishalshels, Madrega Shalfanella, Mila Meno, that's one level, comes down like a further link in the chain from the level that is preceding it and higher than it. And this level that came from a level previous to it, from it comes about a level beneath it. So that itself, you see the division. From this, it's not only that there's the division between the middle and the top, and the middle and the bottom, and for sure between the top and the bottom, but this also causes in every level that there are divisions within that level. Since they are derived from something, they come about through division. So division becomes, or becomes who they are even within themselves. That's a general idea of ishtalshlus. The example of this is where it's not just that, let's say, the middle link of the chain has a higher link that precedes it, and the middle link in the chain has a lower link in the chain that follows it. But in that link itself, there's, like we always bring down Chassidus, there's the upper part of the middle link that's hooked into the lower part of the upper link, and then there's the lower part of the middle link that's hooked into and linked into the top or the bottom link. So in other words, that we have division within every level itself. But in general, he says in line 12, in the spheres, there's also the transcendent levels. The lights are transcendent, or as they are called soiviv kalam. The idea of soiviv in general is the idea of keser. Here we don't see division. Here we see the way it encompasses all levels equally. You cannot say a level, or in Soviv you cannot say a level of a beginning and an end and a division of levels, as opposed to say the ishtalshlus. Though when we talk about Soviv, we talk about Makif, we talk about Keser, this itself has many different ways and many levels. So why do you tell me that Seder Ishtalshlus, that has a Seder of division and different levels? Within levels, there's all types of divisions. But Soviv and Keser is something that's beyond division. We know Soviv and Keser also has different levels. It's explained in many places. Concerning the chain order of descent of the crowns. That it's in a way of a chain order of one keser comes from another keser. In other words, and this is going to be important to be able to emphasize the way it transcends levels. There is, for example, keser of the whole Seder Ishtalshlus, which is Einin Sof Shofnat Tzimtzum, and then there's the keser after the Tzimtzum, that's Ak, Adam Kadmon. Then there's the keser of Atzilus, Arich and Anpin. Then there's the way Malchus of Atzilus becomes an Atik, a keser for the world of Bria, and similarly the Malchus of Yitzira becomes a keser to Asiya, and so on. So it's brought down that they have their own line. All these Ksarim, the keser of Ak, keser of higher than Ak, keser of Atzilus, keser of Malchus of Yitzira becoming a keser to Bria, they have their own, they follow their own line. It's not that they go through the Seder Ishtalshlus of the different spheres and the different levels that they are on. Meaning, line 20, Hainum, the keser of even the lowest most world, it's higher than the Chachma in the world that's higher than it. So for example, we said that Malchus of Yitzira becomes a keser for the world of Asiya. So, in general, Malchus of every world is lower than the Chachma of that world. But once Malchus becomes transformed into this keser, so now it bypasses all the spheres higher than it. It's beyond all the spheres higher than it. The Malchus of Yitzira, now that it became a keser to Asiya, is even higher than Chachma of Yitzira. So we see that his Chalkos doesn't really play a role in the Ksarim. They're living in their own world, in their own paradigm. Va'ad, to such a degree, yes, like Kesher v'shayches in B'chinas HaKesher Sha'il Machiel, we say Ishtalshos HaKsarim Zemezeh, that the Kesher, even the lowest world, Malchus of Yitzira, the way it becomes a Keser to Asiya, has a connection with even the Keser of Ak or the Keser of Erin Sof Shofnat Tzimtzum. How come? That's because Keser, Soiviv, Makif has no divisions in truth. It's just the way it manifests in different places. It shines in different places, but it's really all one thing. Because the idea, the general idea of Keser is higher than the ideas and the levels of chain descent and division. Therefore, all the crowns, all the ksarim in every place and in every level that they're in have a connection with each other. Perhaps we can use the mashal, the well-known mashal of the Chazal that they speak about. Someone asked, I think it was Rabbi Akiva, a guy asked Rabbi Akiva, how could it be? It says, Al kol be'asar shchinte sharia, and all 10 Yidden the shchina rest. Kama shchinte islahu, how many shchintes do you have? And Rabbi Akiva answered him that it's just like the sunlight that shines into multiple windows. The more windows you open up, the more sunlight shines in. But is there multiple suns? Is there multiple light? No, it's all the same light, but it's coming in many different places. So perhaps in a similar vein, we could explain the same idea of Keser. When we talk about Ishtalshus, like Sarim Zemazeh, it doesn't mean that there's divisions in the Keser. It's just the way it manifests itself and it hits Malchus of Yitzira and now becomes a Keser for Bria, and the way it hits the level of Ak and that becomes a Keser for the whole Seder Ishtalshus, etc., etc. Now, this level of Yom HaRishon is the level that has to do with Keser. So because of the Keser that shines, because of that Gilui of Yom HaRishon, because of that transcendent level that's higher than Seder Shtalshlus, Ani Rishon, that we spoke about before, that is why you have the Hadar, you have this beauty, you have this unity of all the different parts. Let's see the top of page Tazvav. That's what it means that the Yom HaRishon, the level of Keser, comes after. That's I went ahead of myself a little bit, but he's saying now that when is this Yom HaRishon start? It comes after the voice of Shuva of Yom Kippur. We said that it's like a king that forgave his country, and now he said today is when we're going to start. The same thing Hashem said. It's the first day. It's now when we're starting our avodah, meaning because Sukkot is the beginning of our avodah that is riding on the coattails and completion of what took place in the avodah of Tshuva Yom Kippur, like we mentioned before. What's the connection between Yom Rishon and the Gilui of Keser that we just now spoke about? The Lakus that's higher than Seder Shtalshus, beyond the vision, with the idea of Tshuva of Yom Kippur. The main level of the crown, the avodah of a person, is that level of tshuva. Though there's a level of the crown in the avodah of tzaddikim, she's so close. In by tzaddikim, the level of keser is that they sublimate themselves so much in a way of, they say, nasa before nishma. This is the avodah of tzaddikim, this is the keser in their avodah. It's the bittul to the master of the will that's higher than the bittul to the will. When we say nishma v'nasa, so first we heard and we understood what Hashem wanted from us, and then we said, yes, we will do it. So we are mivatl ourselves to Hashem's will. But when we say we will do, before we even know what He wants of us, that's a bittul to the balarotz. That high level of bittul is an expression of keser, but in a place where you don't need to deal with Avedis. That's the Avodah of Tzaddikim. Yet, even though that's one expression of Avodah having to do with the level of Keser, still in all, this goes on in line 8, Mikal Makom, still in all, Kefisha, Ininu Begal, Avodah Tzaddikim, Avodah Adam, the way we find Keser revealed in the Avodah of a person, in the Avodah Tzaddikim, Hiba'efim Mesudar, the Avodah of Tzaddikim is still in a very organized fashion. And being organized, that indicates Hischalkus, the vision, Seder Ishtalshus. It's not the true level that transcends the vision yet. As opposed to the Avodah Baal Tshuva, is with much more power and strength and a much greater strength. And Tshuva is something that's in 1 hour, in one moment, one jumps from one extreme to another extreme, which is a true idea of the makif, the keser, the level that's beyond the divisions, that you don't say, I'm stuck here and I can't go there. There's no separation whatsoever. Behind this means, extracts and takes out the person from his entire chain order of descent. Like the words of the Gemara, through a thought of tshuva, regardless of the person's own state and situation that he may find himself in at the moment before he did tshuva, still in all gamim, even if he's in the lowest, most extreme, and he's very much below Nasa Tzadik Gamor. He becomes a complete tzaddik, as it says, that if someone betroths a woman on the condition that he's a tzaddik gomer, she is mikudeshes him out of doubt that maybe in one moment he did tshuva, even though a second before he betrothed her, he was doing the worst avedas. Now, the Rebbe says it doesn't mean that he's a tzaddik and he doesn't have the milo of tshuva. It means just that he's completely left the world where he was at. He also has the advantage of being a Baal Tshuva. And how does he do it? It doesn't take time. It's in such a way, like the Chazal say, that there was someone who was a very great Baal Aveda, and he acquired his world in one hour. That means there's an entire world. And he acquires it. And the acquisition is in 1 hour. It's not a lengthy lifetime of work in an orderly fashion that tzaddikim go to. When he heard about the passing of this person, how he died with tshuva, so he said, and he cried, there's someone that can acquire his world in one hour. Why is that so? How is it possible? How can you have an entire world of avodah in 1 hour? It should be in a very organized type of fashion. The features are in Shalom say the because it's a matter that's totally beyond the chain order of descent. Still in all, it's not in such a way that it has no connection with Seder Ishtalshalos. This is a very important point. That, like we said about the Echad, in the disparity you make it into unity. Through this he acquires his world. A world that has a chain order of descent, has all these different divisions. Similar to the unity in the four species of the Esrig and Lulav and so on. It's not in such a way that the four kinds are in a way of leaving Seder Ishtalshalos. You don't grind them up in a food processor and make from them a puree and baby food out of the four species. That all of a sudden they leave behind because of their unity. They have nothing to do with all the other species of vegetation in the world. They're still vegetation. Rather, the way they are still part of the vegetation. In the Achtas, we see the unity in them. In a similar vein is concerning the person that could acquire his world in 1 hour. That the idea of tshuva, it's beyond division. That's the idea of 1 hour. That means the one avoid of tshuva has not divided into parts. It's a 1 hour thing. It joins together all matters and details of his avodah that's in his world. That's the kaina elamai b'shoachas. Shoachas the tshuva, elamai is all the disparity. They're divided each from each other, each one according to its matter. Because of tshuva being able to make unity in disparity, therefore tshuva nullifies and removes any types of divisions between intentional sins and merits. Shari tshuva shlema, because a complete tshuva shezel, if not tshuva dasaris make tshuva b'chlal. The complete tshuva is the type of tshuva that one does during the dasaris make tshuva in general. Valachs kam vakama Yom Kippurim. How much more so the tshuva of Yom Kippur sheitzum shel Yom shel mechaper, the very day itself of Yom Kippur atones, like the Chazal say. From the tshuva of Yom Kippur, we said it comes down into our Yom Tov, the matters of Chag HaSukkos. So what was that Yom Kippur that impacted Sukkos? He ba'ofen shas doinus naslik kazachis, in such a way that the intentional sins becomes like merits. Va'ad shas doinus naslik zachias mamish, not only kizachias, not just like merits, but they actually become merits. Since also the intentional sins becomes merits, so all types of divisions between intentional sins and merits become nullified. Because tshuva is in the way of unity that's beyond division. And the Rebbe tomorrow will continue explaining that this is also, this idea is manifest in all the other things that the Medrash speaks about as a level of Rishon.